And here's the thing. The left has to change the slogan, defund the police. There was a poll that came out recently that asked Americans if they were in favor of reallocating resources from the police to social services that's necessary in communities. And it was supported by 63% of Americans. That's exactly what defund the police means. But when asked directly about defunding the police, not really explaining the context behind it, only 18% of Americans support it.
So, keep it 100, I be feeling like Campbell soup over white rice, baked chicken with the skin on, yeah, Lowry's with black pepper, I'm fully seasoned with laughter.
What's going on, percenters? It's your boy Dre, and welcome to my channel. Keep it 100, Dre. So, former Dallas police chief David Brown, he argued to defund the police 5 years ago. I'm gonna have you take a look at this video, and then I'm gonna explain after.
I believe that I'm able to stand here and discuss this with you is a testament to God's grace and His sweet, tender mercies. Just to be quite honest with you. Because what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish here is above challenging. It is. We're asking cops to do too much in this country. We are. We're just asking us to do too much. Every societal failure, we put it off on the cops to solve. Not enough mental health funding. Let the cop handle it. Not enough drug addiction funding. Let's give it to the cops. Here in Dallas, we got a loose dog problem. Let's have the cops chase loose dogs. Schools fail. Give it to the cops. 70% of the African community is being raised by single women. Let's give it to the cops to solve that as well. That's too much to ask. Policing was never meant to solve all those problems. And I just ask for other parts of our democracy, along with the free press, to help us and not put that burden all on law enforcement to resolve.
First, I'm going to explain what defund the police means. I also detailed this in my George Floyd documentary, so I really need you to watch it. I'm going to plug it at least for the next 10 videos until you watch it, so give it a watch, it's very good. Anyways, defund the police is a movement calling to reallocate money spent on police who serves as an occupying force in the community, in many communities, especially those that are poor and brown. Reallocate that money to social services like mental health funding, towards schools, towards helping people with drug addiction, towards jobs for youth, and other things. This police chief said police have way too much on their plate, and I agree 100% with him. As a country, we spend more money on policing than we do on education. In what society is that just? While I was doing research for this video, this completely floored me. In America, we have 5,300 colleges, but we have 1.5 million federal prisons and state prisons. That shows what our priorities are. So defund the police isn't a call to get rid of the police. It's a call to reallocate some of the money we spend on policing and put that money into resources that are actually needed for the community. So here's something that will also blow your mind. Just 5% of all arrests are arrests for violent crimes. Just 5%. Also, we arrest more people for marijuana use than all violent crimes combined. And I want to be clear here. We arrest more people just for the use of marijuana, not the sale of it, but the use of marijuana than all violent crimes combined. That's insane, man. And this is according to the ACLU, Human Rights Watch, and the FBI data and statistics. So this former police chief argued for defunding police 5 years before the movement actually existed. But now I want to talk about the issues with the defund the police movement. I had a conversation with someone who claimed they're on the left, at least nominally. He said he's on my side, but he pretty much, every argument that I made, he attempted to straw man all of those arguments and then attack the straw man rather than address the actual points I was presenting. Eventually, we started talking about the movement for defunding the police. And he said he's not in favor of getting rid of the police force. And here's the thing. The left has to change the slogan, defund the police. There was a poll that came out recently that asked Americans if they were in favor of reallocating resources from the police to social services that's necessary in communities. And it was supported by 63% of Americans. That's exactly what defund the police means. But when asked directly about defunding the police, not really explaining the context behind it, only 18% of Americans supported it. So a question I have for those on the left who are in favor of defunding the police: are you in favor of keeping the slogan while never actually winning the battle? Or do you want to win the battle and change the slogan? Because in order for this to work, the slogan has to change. And I actually tested this. So I knew what the data was. I presented it in my George Floyd documentary, which you should give a watch. I knew what the data was, so I wanted to test it out. So I asked my mom, are you in favor of reallocating resources from the police to social services that are needed, such as education and jobs? And yes, she was in favor of it. But then when I asked her, are you in favor of defunding the police? She said no. Now, my mom's not an overly political person, but she feels the same way that most Americans feel. Just the slogan defunding the police. Most people aren't going to take time into looking into what something means. They don't have time for that. So what do you have to do? Change the slogan. Because the slogan defund the police makes the policy extremely unpopular. Another example. There's a policy called right to work. In states that have right to work, pretty much all of those states, on average, the salaries of those workers are reduced by 12%. It's an anti-union bill. That's what right to work laws are, anti-union laws. But when asked, are you in favor of having the right to work? Most people agree with it because of the name. So when trying to make a policy popular, it's not just about the provisions in a bill. It's about the name of it. So if you want to win the battle on defunding the police or reallocating resources from the police to necessary social services, the name absolutely has to change. It's not something that's really debatable. In New York City, the police, they decided they didn't want to work for 7 weeks because Mayor de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, he pissed off the police officers. So they decided not to work for 7 weeks, and crime in that 7 weeks went down. They were expecting the crime to go up and criminals run rampant throughout the city and people will be begging for them to come back. But what happened is no one really noticed that they weren't doing their job. And crime went down. The way you actually reduce crime is by reducing poverty. Full stop. You reduce poverty, crime will go down. This has been shown many times, not just in America, but throughout the world. Mike Bloomberg argued that the stop and frisk policy reduced crime in New York City, but crime continued to reduce in New York City after stop and frisk was banned in New York City. Why? Because poverty was reduced. People commit crimes in most cases because they lack resources, they lack opportunities, so they turn to crime as a means for survival. So if you actually care about reducing crime, reduce poverty. So that's all I gotta say. I really appreciate you watching the video. If you like the content, like and subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you know when I post videos in the future. But I gotta leave you with one more thing before the video is over, and that's the word of the day. The word of the day for today is nominally. Nominally is spelled N-O-M-I-N-A-L-L-Y. The definition of nominally is in name only, officially, though perhaps not in reality. So now I will attempt to use nominally in the sentence. Many people, especially the Democratic Party, are just nominally on the left. They call themselves leftists or progressive, but in reality, most of them are extremely conservative, especially on economic issues and foreign policy. Hopefully I use that sentence correctly. So again, if you like the content, like and subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notifications so you know when I post videos in the future. Watch my George Floyd documentary. And I have a Patreon account now. My Patreon is patreon.com/keepit100dre. If you want to donate to help the channel grow in any way, I'd really much appreciate it. You can donate anywhere between $3 to $10 a month, and it helps me grow a whole lot. And I would really appreciate your support if you would like. So, anything else? No, that's all I gotta say for this video. Watch my George Floyd documentary. I'm Sanis. Peace.
Well, I've been stacking up. Nah, really that ain't accurate, cause I just spent my whole damn advance in the past couple months just to compensate for times we ain't have enough. Ooh.